disappeared without leaving any explanation. Were no longer just walls. They were covered, symbols, codes, writings no one could understand. He disappeared without leaving any explanation. No one saw him leave. No one heard anything. And when they realized, he was already gone. But the strangest part wasn't the disappearance. It was what he left behind, and what they found in that room, to this day, still doesn't make sense. Before we go any further, I need to ask you something. If you walked into a room and saw symbols covering every wall, books no one could read, and a statue in the center, would you stay there alone, or would you leave immediately? If this already got you curious, leave a like on this video, because what you're about to see only gets stranger every minute. It all begins in Brazil, with an ordinary young man. His name was Bruno Borges. He was 24 years old, intelligent, reserved, and apparently living a normal life. But that was only what it seemed, because in the days before he disappeared, something started to change. And very few people noticed. He began isolating himself, spending hours locked in his room, and no one knew exactly what he was doing in there. But there's one detail that almost no one noticed at the time. He wasn't just isolating himself, he was building something, and that was only discovered later, until the day he simply vanished. No warning, no goodbye, no clues. And that's when everything started to get strange. His family entered his room, expecting to find answers, but instead, they found something completely different. The walls were no longer just walls. They were covered, symbols, codes, writings no one could understand. Every inch of that room felt intentional, as if it had been created over months or even years. But that wasn't the strangest part. In the center of the room, there was a statue, large, imposing, of a philosopher, and around it 14 books, all written by him, but no one could read them because they were encrypted. Now think about this. A young man disappears and leaves behind an entire room filled with undecipherable codes. Does that seem normal to you? If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe, because things are about to get even stranger. The investigation began. His family tried to understand. Friends were called in, and one thing became clear. Bruno was planning something. He talked about projects, about knowledge, about something he wanted to reveal, but no one took it seriously until he disappeared and left everything behind, like a puzzle. The books drew attention because they weren't simple notes. They were complete books, hundreds of pages, but written in code, as if he didn't want just anyone to understand. Or worse, as if he knew someone would try to decode them. The internet exploded. People from all over the world started investigating. They tried to decode the symbols. They created theories, and the more they tried, the less it made sense. Some said it was marketing. Others believed it was something spiritual, and there were those who believed he had discovered something he wasn't supposed to. Now I want to ask you, if you found those books today, would you try to decode them, or would you leave it alone? Let me know in the comments, because there's one detail that many people ignore. That room didn't feel like just a place. It felt like a puzzle. Every symbol, every line, every drawing seemed to hide something, but no one could put the pieces together. Days passed, then weeks, and Bruno was still missing. No clues, no signs, nothing. And then, just when everything seemed lost, something happened. Something no one expected. He came back, just like that. After days missing, he returned. But this is where the story becomes even stranger, because he explained nothing. He didn't say where he had been. He didn't reveal the meaning of the symbols. He didn't explain the books. Nothing. It was as if he had returned, but chose to take the truth with him. And to this day, no one knows what really happened. The books remain. The codes remain. The mystery remains. And maybe that's the most unsettling part. Because unlike other stories, this one never had an ending. It stayed open. No answers, no explanations. And one question that no one has been able to answer. What really happened in that room? And more importantly, what was he trying to show? If you made it this far, it means this story held your attention. So take a moment now, subscribe to the channel, because I'll be bringing more real stories that feel like fiction, but actually happened. Because in the end, some mysteries don't want to be solved.